So, something that I've been kind of like sitting with recently is when you look at your life and realize that you've been through so many of the same things over and over and over again, and there has like always been some type of resolution, it just changes the way that you approach things, right? How crazy is it that we find ourselves worrying about like the same thing over and over and over again? It's wild, right? And like when I look at my own life and stuff, I found myself worrying about something like a month and a half ago that like now is a solution. And I was like crazy worrying about it. Like it's wild. So I kind of like want to take the time to explore in this video a few things that I kind of wish that I knew um, sooner in life, earlier on in life, in the earlier years of my life. Um, the first and foremost thing is that really, it's not that I didn't know this. It's just that like this kind of stuff isn't taught to us. We're kind of taught to worry about the same thing over and over again, which is what brings us to this point, right? Um, and this is kind of like a philosophical thing, right? Um, things sort of end up not really being what you previously thought they would be, right? Like just like what you excessively worry and stress yourself out about ends up not being the big deal that in your mind it is presenting itself as. And I just think that that's fascinating. Like, you could work yourself up, you could lose sleep, you could, go into, depression, sadness, just profound chaos of emotions, and it just ends up not at all being what your mind and body are anticipating. But that's also because a lot of us have a tendency to kind of unnecessarily condition our minds and bodies into, thoughts and feelings that are just irrelevant, Um, a lot of us were not taught to be calm because we were raised in environments of chaos. You're not going to be taught to be calm. And not only that, but you're also not going to seek out healthy relationships because when you're raised in an environment of chaos, you're likely going to seek out somebody who, you know, is always presenting drama or gossip or any of that kind of stuff. Stillness is going to be boring. Peace is going to be boring to people who were raised in environments of chaos. That's just the way that it is. Um, but what's so interesting is that, like, oh yeah, by the way, meditation is something that I wish was introduced when I was in elementary school. Um, it's just crazy how like when you look at how things unfold for somebody who, from a very early age starts and masters their inner world and everything. Oh, here's another thing, by the way. Not only are things usually like never what you think they're going to be, but also the outside world is a reflection of the inside world, always, 100%. So instead of trying to manipulate everything out there, you have to change, you have to shift your energy in here. And because we were taught to approach things from a Newtonian cause and effect standpoint, right? Of like, I'm going to put in all this effort to try to make that thing move out there, right? It's actually even more productive to come at it from a quantum standpoint. When I say quantum, I mean, and I guess you could say this in reverse, but when I say quantum, I mean instead of trying to cause an effect, you're actually affecting a cause, right? So instead of trying to like work your fucking face off and achieve a feeling 20 years down the line, you can actually do it the opposite way. And instead of going out after the thing, you can effect a cause. Effect being feel the feeling that would come with the experience, and then that sends out an electromagnetic signature, which then attracts to you based on that. It's just crazy. We were not taught beneficial things. We were not taught beneficial things growing up, and I just think that that's so interesting. I mean, you can't be taught beneficial things when I'm not going to say that like altogether we were not taught beneficial things. There were some things that we were taught that were very productive and helpful, but many things that we were taught are just completely irrelevant in this day and age, and that kind of scares the shit out of me. Um, something that I would implement in, in the earlier on, like, having kids, right? I would teach them meditation. I want them to learn meditation and everything. It's very important. You need to be able to be still, right, in everything. I'm grateful that I started learning meditation and have successfully practiced it for 5 years now. I'm fucking grateful as shit for that. Um, it was very necessary for me. My life is drastically different now than it was before, than it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Just unrecognizable, literally unrecognizable. So, um, yeah, so many things out there really are not what we think they're going to be or what they appear to be, and we make a big deal over things when it's not necessary. Um, oh, yeah, something else that I wish I knew. Actually, this goes back to what I was talking about before regarding the whole, Newtonian versus quantum model of reality. Um, you are either going to be used by your emotions and what is familiar, or you can actually consciously use your emotions, right? Um, you can actually make yourself feel excited and joyful when there's actually nothing going on in your environment, right? You can make yourself feel like you just won the lottery and you didn't even win the lottery, right? But that's the incredible thing because, again, the mind and body can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. So therefore, you can actually create that experience neurochemically, I suppose the word is, um, without actually having the experience physically manifested. I just think that that's so wild. I can't blame the people that didn't know about this, that never taught this to me. But what I am going to say is that the education system that we are currently working with is basically the equivalent of a horse and buggy. Um, it's outdated. It's not. It's gonna, in my opinion, I mean, it's gonna. Things are gonna change. Things are gonna continue to change. I think that students are gonna start doing virtual, you know, like VR. Not just virtual like on a laptop. That shit's also boring, in my opinion. I look at student. Well, first I look at my own experiences of going to school. That shit was boring as fuck. And I look at other students and stuff, and it's like we're in 2022. Like this is not the 1950s anymore. Like no wonder kids don't want to show up. I mean, in my opinion, this shit's boring as fuck. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's not. Um, but it's so interesting because things are going to keep evolving. Ways that maybe once worked or were forced at some point are going to fall out and be replaced by other things. People are going to start virtually learning. There are so many things that like it's so interesting. Um, but one of the most important things that I'd still sit with is just meditation. Like the amount of crap that happens in school is just bullshit. Like it's fucking ridiculous. Um, having kids, like the idea of having kids myself, I would not want to have them in school unless I'm living in a country or a state that's 100% safe and I don't have to worry about anything. Um, yeah, I'd have them homeschooled. It's so interesting. So yeah, meditation is going to be taught from a very early age. Inner peace, inner stillness. There's not a single shot that I'm going to let anyone into their life that can even have a fucking hope of a glimpse of trying to convince them that there's anything wrong with them. I'm mind blown that people have the fucking audacity to project their shit onto other people. Like it's mind blowing. Like the very reason that somebody ends up having a low self esteem is because their parent instilled that bullshit into them. It's crazy. Um, yeah, when I was younger, I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that it was just low self esteem bullshit. Like, it, it's crazy. But yeah, those are the few of the things that I wanted to talk about. I think that we're headed towards a very interesting point in life. We're already there, but it's only going to continue to get more and more interesting, and we're going to see a lot of things evolve and transform in very impressive ways. We're going to see a lot more community coming together. We're going to realize the power of community. Um, a lot of relationships are going to fall apart because they were never meant to be. A lot of new relationships are going to form and be stronger than ever. It's very interesting to me that two people that have just met can end up being absolute best of friends. It's not about duration, it's about connection. It's not about duration of time. It's not about how many years you spent together. It's about the depth of your connection, and that's how things work.